The decisions are not adding up, and we need a circuit court judge to step in.
Fed up, Baltimore City residents are asking a judge for help. The I-team with the petition filed in court over recycling.
A wastewater treatment plant explodes and crews are monitoring fires right now. What investigators just said about potential impacts to the community.
And the search for former Governor Larry Hogan's former chief of staff intensifies. The federal raid at Roy McGrath's Florida home today.
And U.S. leaders weigh in after Russian fighter jets take down a U.S. drone over international airspace. Why they say we won't back down.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WBAL TV 11 News at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kyrene.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Hinson. Right now, an explosion at the Dundalk Wastewater Treatment Plant is under investigation.
You are looking at exclusive video here from SkyTeam 11 over the scene right around noon today. Captain Roy Taylor first reported that 7 workers inside the plant were not hurt and are unaccounted for.
And you can see the wall on the east side of the building was just blown off. Officials just updated us and said when firefighters first got to the scene, that was around 11:30, there were multiple fires inside that building. At one point, crews were called back for their safety. The building was being used by a city contractor. The company, Synagro, converts waste into an agricultural pellet.
What we're dealing with here is 12,000 gallons of thermal oil. Thermal oil is a high temperature oil that Synagro used in its process, and it is not classified as a hazmat.
We are told most of this is contained in tanks. The rest is allowed to burn off. Maryland Department of the Environment is also at the scene and says there is no impact to the community.
And even though they were contractors working on our site or our facility, it was a separate building on the property. So we're still operating and functioning and processing and treating our wastewater.
Well, firefighters will monitor the scene until the fire is completely out. As far as the cause, investigators say it'll take a while before that's determined.
Well, tired of what they see as a lack of services, some Baltimore residents want to take Baltimore City to court. Their main complaint here is over how the Department of Public Works picks up recycling. 11 News I-team reporter Barry Sims is live for us in North Baltimore. And Barry, right now the city picks up recycling once every other week.
That's right, and those who have signed a court petition say that they want the pickups to happen more often. They want to return to once-a-week service. Desmond Stinney believes he is doing as Baltimore City requests. He's putting bottles, cans, and paper that can be used again in a separate container and moving it to the alley. But he doesn't think the city is doing a good job when it comes to picking up recycling. He is not pleased with once every other week pickup and has filed a petition in court to restore city recycling to once a week.
It's a writ of mandamus, and it is a petition that is filed with the circuit court when you believe that the city has made a decision that is harmful to the taxpayers.
He says the state of emergency caused by the COVID pandemic is over and the mask mandate was lifted. Both happened a while ago. He says services should return. In response, Mayor Brandon Scott's administration says it is committed to resuming weekly recycling, and we are working diligently to ensure all of the city's solid waste services are resilient and sustainable at current levels. As such, we will continue to pursue out-of-the-box solutions, including partnering with community-based organizations to ensure our communities are cleaner. Lynn Savage and others also want once-a-week pickups.
It's mandated by the city that we recycle. So therefore, I feel as though they should then, in turn, do right by us and come and get it weekly.
Now, the petitioners also want the city to consider other options for picking up recycling. We'll have much more on that tonight at 5. Reporting live from North Baltimore, Barry Sims, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Barry, thank you. So where is Roy McGrath? That's the question everyone is asking, especially the feds right now who raided McGrath's Naples, Florida home today. McGrath was a no-show for his trial in federal court Monday on fraud and other charges. McGrath at one time had been the chief of staff for former Governor Larry Hogan. 11 News 19 reporter David Collins joins us live from Annapolis with an update on the search. David?
Well, according to the U.S. Marshals Service, there's now a nationwide manhunt for Roy McGrath. We reached out to former Deputy U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein for some insight on that search. Law enforcement raided the home of Roy McGrath Wednesday morning. A neighbor shot and shared this video. A Baltimore federal judge issued a warrant for McGrath's arrest after he failed to show up for his criminal trial on federal fraud charges Monday. We reached former Deputy U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein by phone for some insight into what the feds are looking for.
They'll be looking for any evidence that he had made plans to flee. That might be in the form of electronic records. For example, finding his computer would probably be a top priority.
According to federal prosecutors, McGrath stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state while working for the Maryland Environmental Service. The feds accuse him of claiming to be working while he went on vacation and using MES funds to pay for tuition and donations. Authorities say he falsely engineered a $233,000 severance package before going to work as the chief of staff for former Governor Hogan. McGrath claims Hogan approved the severance. Hogan denies it.
Typically, there are two reasons when defendants don't show up for a scheduled court date. The first is they might get cold feet. They're nervous about appearing, and they're thinking that they might somehow evade capture if they flee. In some cases, unfortunately, defendants under the stress of an impending trial may seek to attempt suicide.
McGrath's attorney, Joe Murtha, says he's been in contact with his wife, Laura, explaining in a written statement his wife is cooperating with law enforcement and is anxiously awaiting to find out information about Roy's whereabouts.
I think the defendant's spouse and anybody close to him would be likely to have insight into what his state of mind was at the time. I mean, they would know, for example, if the person was depressed, if they were a potential suicide risk, or if they had talked about the possibility of fleeing.
Authorities say when McGrath is caught alive, he faces an additional charge of failure to appear, and he'll likely be denied bail, citing a flight risk. Now, coming up at 5, more from the former U.S. Deputy Attorney on some insight into that search. Reporting live from Annapolis, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
I'm Andre Hepkins at the 11 News Live Desk. The U.S. continues to react to a Russian fighter jet taking down an unmanned American drone in international airspace. The Pentagon says the fighter jet first poured fuel on the drone, then it collided with it, sending the drone into the Black Sea. Tuesday's confrontation is causing already high tensions to escalate between the two countries. The Kremlin said it warned the U.S. to end hostile activities near its borders. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin called the incident troubling, but said the U.S. will continue to operate over international water.
This hazardous episode is a part of a pattern of aggressive and risky and unsafe actions by Russian pilots in international airspace. So make no mistake, the United States will continue to fly and to operate wherever international law allows.
Russia's ambassador to the United States was summoned to the State Department following that incident. Now, the U.S. has already wiped out the drone software and is considering salvage options for the wreckage, but Russia got there first. The Kremlin said it would try to recover what's left of that drone. At the 11 News Live Desk, I'm Andre Hepkins. Kai.
Andre, thank you. In an exclusive 11 News report, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby confirms he will run for re-election. 11 News lead political reporter Kate Amara got those details when she sat down with him today. She joins us now live with that interview. Kate.
Kai, voters will see Democrat Nick Mosby's name on a primary ballot during the primary next year. The current city council president confirming to 11 News today that he is running for re-election, and he also told us why.
I fully intend to run for city council president again. I think that there's a tremendous amount of work ahead for this council, particularly as it relates to trying to understand that balance of power and moving our city in the right direction as it relates to the city council to the mayor.
Mosby also told me he has not officially filed paperwork concerning his candidacy or fundraising for a campaign, but he did say he's all in. And during our conversation, he also made some first-time comments about his City Hall ethics investigation and about the judge's ruling in that case. You can hear it for yourself. coming up at 5 o'clock. Reporting live from City Hall tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kate, thank you. Well, Commissioner Michael Harrison penned an op-ed in USA Today. That op-ed, written in partnership with Boston's police commissioner, explains how healing trauma could reform policing. That means focusing on training to bring behavioral change among officers. Now, in this op-ed, Commissioner Harrison and Commissioner Michael Cox from Boston write in part, quote, "We are utilizing the same brain science, training, and support that has been used in working with our highest risk young people who are victims and perpetrators of the worst violence in our cities." Harrison shared similar thoughts with the 11 News I-Team in February.
We have now debunked the narrative that you cannot reduce crime and have police reform at the same time.
So far, Baltimore continues to see a drop in homicides and non-deadly shootings compared to last year. Year to date, the city's recorded 51 homicides and 93 non-deadly shootings.
A major action today by Baltimore City's spending arm. The Board of Estimates canceled a $150 million contract and banned the contractor from doing business with Baltimore for 2 years. That company is called Metra. According to an investigation by the city's Minority and Women's Business Opportunity Office, Metra repeatedly failed to pay subcontractors within the required time frame, in some cases taking more than a year to cut checks. The company also repeatedly lied to the city about it. Metro's attorney acknowledged the late payments and said it wasn't done in bad faith, pointing out the city doesn't always pay its bills on time either.
To use this to set the precedent, I appreciate the efforts, but I just think this is a wrong matter to use it as precedent.
Metra had not been doing what it was supposed to be doing, and they were not taking the rules of the MBA and WBE program seriously.
Controller Henry tells 11 News the contract is ripped up as of today, and the city will solicit bids for a replacement.
All right, well, if you weren't blown over yesterday, maybe it happened today.
It was another windy day out there. But Tom, you say the next 2 days will feel a lot more like spring, and good timing, right? Because is Monday the first day of spring?
The 20th, yes, I believe you're right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're almost there for sure. Now, unfortunately, by Monday, it might start cooling off again, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Coming up this week, we do have that warm-up, and the winds, while they have been strong for sure, not quite as strong as yesterday's 50-mile-an-hour gust. Today, we're seeing 35 to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts across the area. Still gradual improvement, but still blustery right now with those winds gusting to 31 miles an hour at BWI Marshall and 33 miles an hour at Easton. So those temperatures in the 40s to around 50 feel a lot chillier than what the thermometer is indicating. As we head our way into the evening, expect clear skies, gradually diminishing winds, and temperatures steadily falling down into the lower mid-30s as we head toward morning tomorrow. But look at this warm-up that Kai was talking about. Temperatures in the 60s tomorrow for most locations away from the Chesapeake Bay or the coast. To get inland, away from the region like Westminster, Baltimore, back to Hagerstown and even Cumberland and Western Maryland should top 60 degrees tomorrow. Coming up, we'll see how long those spring-like temperatures will hang around.
All right, Tom, thank you. Still ahead on 11 News at 4.
The search is on for the next Baltimore County School Superintendent.
With only months to spare, a confident Baltimore County School Board believes it'll have a new superintendent in place before students head home for the summer. I'm Tim Tootin in Towson. The story coming up.
Well, a federal judge in Texas held a hearing today in a lawsuit that seeks to overturn the FDA's approval of the pills used in medication abortions.
As Jay Gray reports, the coalition of anti-abortion groups behind the suit has requested a preliminary injunction to take one of the two drugs off the market nationwide while the case proceeds.
A handful of protesters gather outside the federal courthouse in Amarillo with what many call the most significant legal battle over abortion since Roe v. Wade playing out in the Texas Panhandle.
There's no person in America who is untouched by this case, no matter what your feelings about abortion are.
The focus of the case, mifepristone, one of two pills commonly used in more than half of all abortions in the U.S. The anti-abortion group Alliance Defending Freedom arguing the FDA didn't properly evaluate the safety of the drug and that access should be blocked immediately nationwide.
We're asking the court to do what is right, to follow and ask the FDA to follow the law by taking these dangerous drugs off the marketplace.
In a court filing, the FDA says the lawsuit is unsupported by any evidence. The Department of Justice adding ADF has no legal standing to file the suit and that the drug's been safely prescribed for 20 years.
Doctors will tell you it is more safe than Tylenol.
Abortion rights activists also question what they call forum shopping, filing in conservative Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk's court. Appointed by President Trump, Kacsmaryk has a history of siding with plaintiffs pushing to roll back reproductive and LGBTQ rights, though none of his previous rulings has been watched as closely or carried the weight of the case he's presiding over right now. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Breaking right now, 11 News can confirm a Reach Partnership school student was just shot. This happened at a gas station across the street from the school that's in Northeast Baltimore. We don't have word on the victim's condition right now, but 11 News reporter Kyrie Stewart, he is there. He's going to bring you a live report in just a few minutes.
The first nor'easter of the season has already dropped nearly 3 feet of snow over parts of the U.S. Utility crews are working through wind-driven snow and freezing temperatures after the storm knocked out power to thousands in Connecticut. This heavy, wet snow piled up on trees and branches, taking down power lines. Parts of northwestern Connecticut have already seen nearly 18 inches of snow. And in Derry, New Hampshire, a team of first responders rescued a child who was trapped under this tree after it fell during the storm there. For 19 minutes, they used their bare hands here, chainsaws and shovels to free the child. 16 firefighters, 3 police officers took part in that rescue. The child, who did have some minor injuries, was taken to a hospital.
Now, your WBAL TV 11 weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tasselmeyer.
The big snows from that big storm up to our north. The high winds, though, buffeting our area for 2 days now. The winds are still gusting over 30 miles an hour down at BWI Marshall thanks to that storm off the New England coast. We've got sunny to partly cloudy skies. Temperatures are not too bad, 52, but with the strong winds, certainly feels colder. Get caught up in one of those wind gusts and definitely a chill to factor in. The humidity at just 16%, very dry air across the region, so kind of an enhanced risk for brush fires when you've got these strong winds and very low humidity. You can see the winds gusting to 39 miles an hour at Dulles Airport. Quantico down in Virginia, 43 mile an hour gusts still holding on. And you can see the strong wind gusts from Philly to Atlantic City. All of this on the southwest edge of that big storm up to our north. Temperatures 40s to around 50. BWI is the warm spot, really at 52 degrees. Most areas are in the mid and upper 40s around Baltimore and just barely above freezing out in the western Maryland mountains. The skies have cleared out nicely here, but you can see the swirl where the center of the storm is, sitting there off the coast of Nova Scotia, just east of Maine out over the Atlantic. That's the storm that dumped 2.5 to 3.5 feet of snow across the interior sections. Looks like the hardest hit area was right in here. Western Massachusetts, southern Vermont, southwest New Hampshire really got hit hard. I saw one station up there in Vermont, Landgrove, Vermont, in Bennington County with 40 inches of snow from that storm system. High pressure, though, is coming in now, and as the center of this high gets closer to us, the winds will diminish, the skies will be clear, sets us up for a chilly night, and then we'll track the next storm coming in from the west, but this one will be pumping warmer air into our area, so as it makes its approach, temperatures will climb to spring-like levels for a couple days. Tonight, 28 to 35. And finally, the winds dying down to under 10 miles an hour as we head through the overnight. Sunset coming up at 7:13. Tomorrow, partly cloudy day, much milder and less windy. Highs around 61 with a west to southwest breeze, 9 to 10 miles an hour. A partly cloudy sky. Should be a beautiful Thursday across the state tomorrow. Even western Maryland gets close to 50 in Garrett County and well up into the 60s around Cumberland and Allegheny County. 50s right near the shore of the bay or on the coast at Ocean City, but Baltimore, downtown Baltimore should be able to hit the 60-degree mark. Friday, same thing as far as temperatures go, but that western storm starts to bring in showers. The main threat for rain around here would be in the afternoon going into the evening hours and probably won't reach Ocean City until after sunset Friday night. Saturday, temperatures come down a notch as that front moves through. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the 50s around Baltimore, which is normal, and 30s returning to western Maryland. So 2 days of spring-like weather with 60s on Thursday, Friday, showers Friday night, maybe even a sprinkle early in the morning Saturday. The rest of the day should be dry. On Sunday, it's a sunny day, but a little chilly at 42, and then back into the low 50s for most of next week.
All right, Tom, thank you. Well, this Women's History Month, we are hearing from some of the most influential voices in environmental leadership about restoring the Chesapeake Bay. An all-women panel of environmental leaders came together Tuesday in Annapolis to discuss bay restoration efforts and perspectives of women in leadership. Hosted by the Chesapeake Bay Trust, panelists covered environmental justice and stewardship. Along with the present challenges facing the bay, like controlling pollution, panelists highlighted how the largest estuary in the United States belongs to everyone.
In this afternoon's Education Alert, a new Baltimore County school superintendent could be hired in what some may call record time. The Board of Education hired a search firm back on March 1st and just said it's very much on track to fill that job very soon. 11 News education reporter Dr. Tim Tootin has the update.
The head of the school board told me she believes the district can have a superintendent in place by July the 1st. Now, the national search is now officially underway to replace Dr. Darrell Williams, who announced recently that he would not seek a second term. Now, the timeline to hire a new superintendent in Baltimore County will begin next week with a series of community meetings. The goal is to make an announcement of who would take the top job by mid-May. Some may say ambitious.
It is ambitious, but it's very doable. We have found a wonderful search firm, McPherson and Jacobson. We have already met with them to begin the process. And we feel confident that we will be able to have somebody in place by July 1st. So we're very aware of the need for community engagement. So next week there'll be 6 opportunities for the community to come and give their input to the firm about the criteria and characteristics they're looking for in the next superintendent for BCPS.
We certainly can show up at the community meetings that are happening, but we want a deeper voice than that. So I'll be reaching out to the board to make sure that the unions do have a seat, more of a seat at the table to share concerns and desires for the new superintendent.
We'll have more on this story coming up tonight, new at 6. At Baltimore County School Board headquarters in Towson, Tim Tootin, WBAL, TV 11 News.
Well, still ahead on 11 News at 4, California residents continue to deal with storm after storm.
And today's must-watch video is the scary moment a tree fell on someone's home during an interview.
And one dog gets a little too confident at the beach. How lifeguards were able to bring it to safety.
And I started to tell him, it looks like it's leaning. There it goes. There it goes. Oh my God. Oh. Anyway, there goes my neighbor's house.
Oh boy. Well, this was in California where, as you saw, a tree fell right on top of a home. This was on Tuesday as the ground still was saturated from a long string of rainstorms since late December. Very fortunately, no one was inside that house at the time. There is no word on the extent of the damage to that home.
Well, sometimes little dogs think they are really big. That was the case with this pup in California. That white little puff that you see right there, that's Tofu. Tofu was running loose in a Long Beach parking lot before hitting the waves. Long Beach lifeguards say Tofu swam about 150 yards offshore, prompting them to go in for the rescue. Tofu was loaded up on a paddleboard and brought to safety.
Oh, poor little dog.
I think his owners are happy to
have
him
see
back.
Yeah. We'll still have the next half hour of 11 News at 4. NBC Nightly News interviews the head of the NTSB after today's FAA hearing.
Yeah, and how the government is planning for our airspace of the future.
I'm Mindy Becerra. Coming up, an amazing story of survival. 2 double lung transplant patients get a second chance at life. They're remarkable stories straight ahead.
From WBAL TV 11, this is breaking news.
All right, we are tracking some breaking news right now. A Reach Partnership student was shot near the school in Northeast Baltimore.
11 News reporter Kyrie Stewart is live at the gas station where this happened. Kyrie, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, so I'm in between the gas station and the school. I'm going to step out of the way real quick and first show you the school. As you can see, a heavy police presence out here. School officials saying that a Reach Partnership high school student was shot at a gas station right across the street from the school. Lots of police out here, heavy police presence. I want my cameraman to turn this way because I want to show you just the distance between the school and the gas station, because there's a heavy police presence right here at the gas station as well. You can see that they had the gas station taped kicked off here. Now, there's still a lot of questions surrounding what exactly happened here. We're still waiting to get confirmation on the age of the student. We're still waiting to hear more details on the extent of the injuries and a motive as well. But of course, all of that is part of the investigation. And at last check, police said that they are still looking for a suspect. So again, we have two scenes out here. We have the BP gas station right here, which is right down the street from the school. And then we have the school, which is right down there as well. So again, we're still waiting to get more details on this, but all we know right now is that it's a Reach Partnership High School student that was shot at a gas station right across the street from the school. So again, as we get more details, we will bring them to you. But for now, reporting live here in Northeast Baltimore, Kyrie Stewart, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, and as Kyrie said, we will have more, when we have more information, we will report it at 5 and 6 o'clock. After several close calls on airport runways, top transportation and aviation leaders are assessing the safety of air travel.
As Alice Barr reports, union officials and major airlines are meeting with the FAA representatives, the Department of Transportation, and the NTSB to try and figure out whether there are significant failures at the nation's airports.
Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance.
A call to action today following an uptick in close calls involving commercial flights, bringing aviation leaders together for a rare safety summit.
These recent incidents must serve as a wake-up call for every single one of us.
Lufthansa Airbus A330 experienced extreme turbulence.
From severe turbulence causing injuries.
No! Do not hit him again!
To unruly passenger incidents, to more than half a dozen near collisions on runways this year, including one just last week here at Reagan National Airport outside Washington.
Oh, you're not 2003. Cancel takeoff clearance.
Reporting takeoff, United 2003.
The safety issues rattling some air travelers.
It's scary. There have been some really close calls, and the fact that they're all just happening in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, is concerning.
And prompting a hard look.
The biggest mistake we can make as an industry is to become complacent.
While industry experts say flying is still extremely safe, representatives from airlines, airports, and unions today talking about risk factors, from increased air traffic to technology to staffing shortages, especially among air traffic controllers.
We are 1,200 certified professional controllers less now than we were 10 years ago.
The FAA says it's on pace to hire 1,500 controllers this year, 1,800 next year, as the people responsible for keeping millions of travelers safe in the skies work to make the systems that protect them even stronger. The FAA is investigating the latest incident here at Reagan National when a regional jet crossed onto the wrong taxiway right in front of a United Airbus jet that was about to take off. Whether there needs to be increased training will be a key focal point as the FAA continues its sweeping safety review. From Reagan National Airport, Alice Barr, WBAL TV 11 News.
And tonight, NBC Nightly News goes one-on-one with the head of the NTSB. NBC News' Gabe Gutierrez finds out how the government is planning for our airspace of the future.
Given these recent incidents that have gotten a lot of attention, is the airline industry overstressed right now?
That's something we have to look at. What's going to happen in the future when we have even more of a congested airspace with drones and air taxis and everything else that's coming online. We have commercial space launches and re-entries almost daily. That's a lot of pressure on the system.
What the NTSB says about close calls on the ground and in the skies as spring travel starts. That's tonight at 6:30, right after 11 News at 6 o'clock.
And hi everyone, I'm Jason Newton. Here's a look at some of the other stories we're following for you right now. Firefighters are monitoring fires after an explosion at a Dundalk wastewater treatment plant. Now only Sky Team 11 flew over that scene right around noon today. Firefighters were called around 11:30 this morning. There were multiple fires inside that building, and at one point firefighters had to evacuate. We're told Baltimore City owns this plant, but the building is being used by a contractor. It's called Synagro. The company converts waste into agricultural pellets and uses thermal oil in that process. That was burning there, the oil. Now, firefighters say most of the oil is contained and the rest is safe to burn out.
Maryland Department of the Environment is on scene, and they have confirmed that the oil has been contained to the site. There's no impact on the community.
Investigators say that this is not a hazmat incident. 7 people were inside the building at the time when that explosion happened. They were not hurt. Also this evening, Juan Dixon out as Coppin State's men's basketball coach. Dixon, a standout with the University of Maryland, spent 6 years leading Coppin's program. He leaves with a 51-131 record with the Eagles. Now, 2 seasons ago, Coppin nearly punched his way into the NCAA tournament, but lost in the MEAC Conference Finals.
In this afternoon's medical alert, an amazing story of survival.
Not one, but 2 double lung transplant patients get a second chance at life. 11 News medical reporter Minnie Becerra joins us with that story.
Yeah, this is one of those stories that just puts you in awe of medical advancements. 2 cancer patients who were told they only had months to live now have new hope at life. Albert Corey and Tanaz Ameli were both diagnosed with lung cancer that quickly escalated to stage 4. At that point, treatment options were limited. They both needed new lungs. But double lung transplants are rare because of the risk and fear that cancer could come back. Doctors at Northwestern Medicine in Chicago tried a different technique. They did a full heart and lung bypass. That allows them to stop the blood flow to the heart and lungs and prevent any cancer cells from going into the bloodstream. Corey had his surgery in September of 2021. Amelie had hers in July of 2022.
You're a tough person, believe me. It wasn't easy. I went
No, it wasn't easy, but it was thankfully we are cancer free, right?
Thank God. We did it. We did it, right?
Oh, we did it.
We did it. She's a warrior here.
There has to be a high five because you guys beat cancer.
All right, that's it.
Northwestern announced today both patients have had no complications so far. Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States. The American Cancer Society estimates that over 127,000 Americans will die of the disease this year. Well, despite some progress, Alzheimer's disease is a growing concern. According to the Alzheimer's Association, the number of Alzheimer's patients is expected to double by the year 2050 to 13 million. Health officials say although some treatments look promising, many elderly people are still reluctant to talk about cognitive problems with their doctors. The cost of care is also rising. Officials say the national price tag for caring for people with dementia-related problems grew $24 billion from a year ago, up to $345 billion overall in 2023.
All right, Mindy, thank you. Still ahead here on 11 News at 4, the EPA finalizing its ruling on power plants.
The new requirements and what 23 states will have to do to comply.
And museums across the United States are recategorizing major works of art. The artwork that will now be known as Ukrainian. A 27-year-old man is facing charges after a 2021 murder. Police say 30-year-old Dante Johnson was killed in West Baltimore on Appleton Street. This week, officers took Kamanta Johnson into custody. He's charged with first-degree murder. Police say the suspect and the victim are not related.
The EPA finalized a rule to cut down on harmful smog and pollution from power plants. Under the so-called Good Neighbor rule, the EPA will require 23 states that are currently not meeting requirements to curb smog and nitrogen oxide to adhere to them. The requirements set limits on air pollution from smog and ground level ozone that wafts into other states. The agency says most plants will need to get specialized pollution control equipment and run it continuously throughout peak ozone season.
Well, major museums around the world are quietly recategorizing Russian artwork. It comes after a months-long campaign aimed to persuade U.S. institutions to relabel the historical works of art that may be wrongly presented as Russian. At the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, 2 artists, once labeled Russian, are now categorized as Ukrainian.
Still ahead on 11 News at 4. If you've noticed a change in customer service since the pandemic, you are not alone. Chief Consumer Correspondent Jeff Rossen has the stats on customer service problems. What's going wrong the most and what companies do when you complain when we come back.
We are getting more and more upset with customer service, and a new survey is showing it.
Our Chief National Consumer Correspondent Jeff Rossen breaks down the study from the research group Customer Care Measurement and Consulting to see just what's making us tick. Jeff?
Yeah, new numbers are in from the National Customer Rage Survey.
I love that thing. Showing 74% of us, 74% experienced a product or a service problem in the last year. That is up from 66% in 2020. That was the last time they did the study. So what did you say were two of the biggest problems? The price, too excessive, and the product or the service, just plain bad. And what do we want in return? People were allowed to check off a few different things. 36% say they want their money back. Seems low to me, 36%. 27% want the product fixed, 25% want an explanation for the problem, and 24% just want an apology. The good news, more of us are getting something back for complaining. 52% say they got something back, which is up from 42% in 2020. And what are we most likely to get back? Money and an apology. I like the money part. More of the study on my website, rawsonreports.com. Complain away. Back to you.
In this afternoon's Consumer Alert, for the second straight week, there has been a demand for mortgages despite rising rates. Applications on average increased 6.5% last week from 2 weeks ago. Since a sluggish February in home buying, sales seem to be coming back. Some homebuilders believe that buyers fear rates will climb even higher, so they're trying to do it now. As for refinancing a home loan, applications went up 5%, but were down from a year ago. Americans cut back on their spending last month. The Department of Commerce reported that retail sales fell nearly half a percentage point in February from January. That decline was greater than economists' expectations. Meanwhile, a key measure of inflation fell dramatically in February. The Producer Price Index tracks what America's producers get paid for goods and services. Producer price increases slowed to an annual pace of around 4.5% last month. That is significantly down from 6% in January.
Well, Verizon has recalled 2.5 million Jetpack mobile hotspots. The recall involves Ellipsis Jetpack mobile hotspots imported from Franklin Wireless. These jetpacks with Verizon printed on them are navy plastic oval devices about 3.5 inches wide, a little more than 2 inches tall. Verizon reports 15 overheating cases, including 6 reports of fire damage to surrounding areas where they're stored. The devices were sold at Verizon stores and online. All right, so are you looking for something to keep you cool if your March Madness bracket goes up in flames? Try a Coors Icicle is what they're calling it. It's a beer-flavored popsicle that doesn't actually contain alcohol. You can purchase the pops on the Coors website or at hundreds of bars across the country during the tournament. I don't know. Don't get it.
Now, your WBAL TV 11 weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tasselmeyer.
Well, yesterday winds were gusting over 50 miles an hour in many locations. The peak wind gust you could find in most locations was in the upper 40s. Up at the Hayden Bridge over the Susquehanna near Havre de Grace, 49-mile-an-hour wind gust today. Gusting to 47 at Middletown, 42-mile-an-hour gust at Northeast and Cecil County. BWI Marshall was gusting to 40 miles an hour again today, and over on the eastern shore, just about the same around Easton and Centerville. 52 right now at the airport with the winds gusting to 31 miles an hour, so we're still dealing with those winds. They will gradually diminish as we head through the overnight, and with clear to partly cloudy skies and these winds dying down, we're in for a cold night tonight. In most areas, we'll be in the upper 20s and low 30s by tomorrow morning, but thankfully these winds will diminish tonight and especially tomorrow. Current temperatures are in the mid-40s along the Pennsylvania line, low 40s up in the Catoctin Mountains and 30s in the far western Maryland mountains with the mostly clear skies. In fact, high pressure is coming in from the west tonight. That's going to kick that storm out. You can see the storm in our satellite imagery here, that swirl of clouds there just off the southern tip of Nova Scotia. It'll move out, high pressure will move in, and it should be a pretty nice night tonight and a nice day tomorrow too, because the next storm that's coming our way is actually going to pump in milder temperatures for 2 days. Thursday and Friday, we enjoy a spring-like warm-up, although this will also bring a chance for a few showers here late in the day on Friday. So you can see in the upper level wind flow that southwesterly flow of warm air coming in for Thursday into Friday. But there's more cold, so this little warm-up for 2 days, that's all it's going to last. After that, we get back into a chilly weather pattern, and the weekend will finish up with cooler than normal temperatures. In fact, some pretty cool air, at least seasonably cool, through a good part of next week. Mostly clear tonight, 28 to 35. The winds will slowly come down and start getting under 10 miles an hour as we head toward morning. Then tomorrow, a light west to southwesterly breeze, partly cloudy skies, and a beautiful 61 for the 16th day of March around the Baltimore area. Even warmer on Friday. but the clouds will be increasing and the shower chances go up in the afternoon and evening. Those rain showers will stick around for Friday night as well. The rain ends early Saturday morning. The rest of the day should be partly cloudy, maybe a little breezy. A chilly day on Sunday, even with the sunny skies. Highs only around 42. It's a good 10-15 degrees below normal. And then back into the low 50s for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Well, WBAL TV's meteorologist Alencia Jenkins shared her weather knowledge to students today at Glendale Elementary School in Glen Burnie. She told them what it's like to be a meteorologist and taught the kids about lightning and snow. Maybe one of those students will join the WBAL TV 11 weather team in, I don't know, 20 years.
Maybe.
They look very excited about learning about it.
I think we've got a few in there that can definitely make it. All right, March Madness officially underway right now, and there were 2 games in the first 4 last night. Both were really close, nail-biters, really. Pittsburgh beat Mississippi State by 1 point, and Texas A&M topped Southeast Missouri State by 4 points. There are 2 more first 4 games tonight. And tomorrow, the Terps men's team faces West Virginia. Maryland is the 8th seed. West Virginia is the 9th. That game starts at 12:15. And then the Terps women's team will host Holy Cross on Friday. That game starts at 2:30. Maryland got the number 2 seed in the tournament. Brenda Freese is 17-0 in first-round games as Maryland head coach. 11 Sports' Pete Gilbert will explain the men's path to the championship. Coming up, new at 5.
NASA unveiled some new gear that astronauts will wear during the historic Artemis 3 mission to the moon. In September, NASA announced it chose Axiom Space to develop a moonwalking system to help land astronauts on the moon for the first time in over 50 years. When NASA sends the first astronauts to explore near the lunar South Pole, moonwalkers will wear these spacesuits here called the Axiom Extravehicular Mobility Unit.
This is a great example of what innovation can do. This is going to be such a much more flexible suit, and the range of motion is really going to improve the astronauts' ability to do all those tasks that they're going to do while they're out exploring on the lunar surface and eventually on Mars. That would be so special.
Oh, wow. NASA says the spacesuit incorporates the latest technology, enhanced mobility, and added protection from hazards at the moon.
I think it's Jason's Halloween costume.
Is that right, Jay?
I can see him in it. All right, a zoo in Michigan is celebrating the birth of a rare antelope species. The Potter Park Zoo says the eastern bongo calf was born just 1 week ago. The baby bongo does not have a name yet, but the zoo says it is healthy. The calf is already walking around, exploring its new home. This is the second bongo to be born at the zoo. Well, these grizzly bears at the Maryland Zoo may be a little confused by this cold weather. The zoo tweeted this adorable video with the caption, "Grizzly sisters Nova and Nita are beginning to stir from their long winter's nap." Each year, the sisters slowly emerge as the temperature in their den reflects the warmth outside. Grizzly bears hibernate to survive the lack of resources in the winter. All right, still ahead in 11 News at 4. We are only 2 months away from this year's Preakness. You're going to meet the local artists competing for a spot to sell their art at the event.
Freshly out of my spacesuit right now. Here's a look at what we're working on for 11 News at 5. City Council President Nick Mosby tells 11 News he is seeking re-election tonight. In a television exclusive, he addresses the ethics controversy against him and expanding access to health care. The partnership between the Enoch Pratt Library and University of Maryland to place nurses at library branches. Plus, ready to dance. 11 Sports' Pete Gilbert shows us how Maryland men's basketball team is preparing for tomorrow's March Madness game. Those stories and much more on 11 News at 5.
Well, it's not too early to get into the spirit of Preakness. A special event is going on right now online that captures the beauty and history of the race. 11 News reporter Jen Franciotti shows you the art of racing.
We're excited about the color and the history and the research that these artists have, incorporated into their pieces.
The second annual Art of Racing competition is going on right now in a virtual gallery where you decide who the winner is. Online, you'll find 207 pieces.
The art is stunning. They're bold, they're beautiful. We have submissions from across the country. We have artists as young, I want to say, as 10.
The competition is sponsored by the Maryland Jockey Club in partnership with MICA, where students like Terrence Brady were encouraged to enter.
I got to learn a little bit more about
the anatomy of the horse. It's called Rolling Thunder, which is supposed to represent the sound that you may experience during a race.
I want to do something with victory and winning the race. So I thought, oh, well, thoroughbred horses kind of had that white streak that kind of goes down their face a little bit. So I was like, oh, what if I made that the trophy?
The winning artist will receive $4,000 and have their submission turned into merchandise for sale at the Preakness.
I feel like the exposure would be really nice, just like as an artist.
And the winner also gets 2 tickets to the Preakness.
Oh, I'd be honored. I'd be very honored. I'd finally be able to see it in person. This would be great.
You can vote online through March 27th. The winner will be announced on April the 11th. In Baltimore, Jen Franciotti, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, that's it for us here at 4 o'clock. 11 News at 5 starts right now.